Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and it's been 1 year since I've been doing Misfits Market, and I thought it would be a perfect time to give you an update on how things were throughout the whole year for me. Now, I just want to say right up front, I know this hasn't been the best choice for everyone all over the country, but I know for me it has worked beautifully. In the year that I've been doing this, they have added so much more to their variety of what's available. Initially, it started out just being for produce, fresh produce, so I could get organic fresh produce delivered directly to my door, because even though we do have a great local store in our small remote town, they don't always have all the organic produce I would like to have, or other organic items, or like to be able to purchase. Usually we can get organic milk locally and it's not too bad, but even then sometimes it's hard. It's been out of stock. But a lot of the things I've been getting, like the citrus and the ginger and so on, are not things we typically find organic at our local store. So this has been a true blessing for us. So I want to cover some of the various things, as well as a couple of the downfalls. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be things that happen. And no matter where you buy your produce, even if you go directly in the store and handle it and buy it fresh, sometimes you can get citrus home and it looks good, smells good, and then you go to eat it and it doesn't have much flavor. Same thing with peaches, apples, or anything else. Let's get started on some of these things. So this is just what I currently have. I've bought various different types of foods from them through the past year. Right now, I've been doing a lot of the mini peppers, the organic mini bell peppers, because I love these. I snack on them every single day. A lot of citrus, so I've got some mandarins here, and a grapefruit. I've got onions, red onions, and yellow onions. Ginger. Look at how beautiful this one. This is the most recent one I got in. I have a bunch frozen up, but I still buy at least 1 or 2 of these every week just to keep stocked up on it, because I go through a lot now that I can get it fresh organically, and I love using it in teas. One of the things they started offering is some different meats, and so they have a grass-fed meat. It comes in different fat percentages, so I'll buy a couple of different ones depending on how I want to use it. And one of the other newer things that they started offering was some organic yogurt. Yes, I can make my own yogurt and have done it many times, even have some old videos on it. But for the cost of milk, buying organic milk, a lot of times it costs me the same amount to be able to just buy yogurt already made than to buy the milk and make the yogurt and then take the extra time needed for doing that. Not that it's hard or requires a lot of time. It's just another one of those things. So I'm really happy with this yogurt. Organic pastas, they'll have different ones available at different times. This is one of the ones that I bought, the orzo I like to use. There's a couple recipes I like to use the orzo in. And the Montebello pasta from Italy is actually my very favorite. Then my second most favorite is I can't remember the name, it starts with a G. I'll put right here. It's the one you can get at Costco, and sometimes they also have that available on Misfits if you don't like to buy from Costco or are unable to, even though you can purchase online. They haven't had the almond oil like this available in a long time, but I brought this out because I stocked up on a bunch of it while they had it, because this was a really good price at the time for the 1 liter, which is just over a quart. And I think I was paying $8 a bottle for this at the time. Really great deal. So I bought quite a few of those while they had them. But that's the one thing, the one downfall about Misfits Market is some of the things that are available will change frequently. Some things they always seem to have, like the yellow organic potatoes, the peppers, the citrus of different types. The honey they also had for a while. You were only allowed to buy 1 at a time. So again, every week I would buy one and built up my stock on that particular honey. I actually have a lot of honey in stock, but this one I like especially just for using directly, mixing with peanut butter as just a yummy snack or whatever, anything like that I'm going to use it in. And even though I've been making my own breads for years, one thing I haven't yet made is English muffin. In fact, I don't even remember when the last time was I ever bought them. It was one of those things I just forgot even existed. And Patrick, he does tend to like English muffins every now and then for breakfast. So when I saw that they had some organic ones available there really recently, I thought I'd buy a couple packages and try them out. And I'm pretty happy with them. I think they're pretty good. This cultured butter, I've been stocking up on. I really like this. This has actually been my very favorite butter. One of the good things about it is it comes from cows that have not been treated with RBST. So there, at least there's that. But anyway, I love the flavor of this Vermont butter. And the potatoes. I've been just getting the potatoes to fill us in. We finished up the potatoes from last year, and now we're waiting for the other ones they're starting to grow right now. So it'll be a few months before we get potatoes from our garden again. And we do go through quite a few. So I do buy a bag every week, every other week usually. It's just a small 3-pound bag. I've also been getting these little chickens. They're not Cornish game hens. They're just small chickens. And they're a non-GMO, free-range chicken that hasn't been treated with hormones and all antibiotics and all that stuff. And these are pretty good. I've been really happy with these, and it's actually a really nice size for us, and I can still get quite a few meals out of just one of these little chickens. They've also been carrying some of the Organic Valley milk, which is my favorite brand of organic milk when I can get it, and some other Organic Valley dairy such as cottage cheese and I think the cheddar cheese or provolone, one of the two, and I'll buy those on occasion. I also get avocados, carrots, I've gotten plums, peaches, so many varieties of different types. Oh yeah, Brussels sprouts, cabbages, red or green cabbage, and the portobello mushrooms. I don't always get to get them, but I do try to get them when they're available, and those are great. Love portobello mushrooms. All organic produce here that we're talking about, so that's wonderful. Now when it comes to some of their other packaged foods, they're not all necessarily organic, but they're usually higher quality items, so just make sure you check, especially if you're trying to do 100% organic. They do also have a pretty wide variety of gluten-free items there, like crackers and cookies and stuff for people who are not really figured out how to bake their own and they would like to just buy some to have on hand. In fact, I've bought some of their gluten-free crackers just to have here for when our friends come over, so at least I have something, some kind of snack I can have on hand for them. But some other things that they've added is a wide variety of different breads. They also carry eggs, which of course we don't need because we have chickens. Other types of meats, fish, pork, bacon, steaks. I was buying the steaks for a while until they really went up in price, but when they first started carrying them, for the grass-fed beef steaks, they were actually a pretty decent price. But then they started getting smaller and the price went up, and that's not all their fault because that's just what we're seeing happen out there. Anyway, the list is long. You can even get treats for your pets, your cats, your dogs. Spices, they have a lot of organic herbs and spices. I don't buy any of them because they're all in smaller sizes. So I'm either growing my own, like I've got some thyme here from 2019 I'm working through from my own garden. But I set it out here so I'd remember to talk about that. But they do carry the organic brands in the little jars, glass jars, which is really nice. But typically if I have to buy an herb or a spice, I'm going to go for a 1-pound bag of something and buy it in bulk because usually it's something I'm going to work through quite a bit of. They do have a lot of vegan options as well, and they have various different types of drinks you can get, some prebiotic sodas, and just the list is long. I don't shop out of all the different sections there. I just have my favorite things that I get or stock up on. But now let's talk a little bit about my experience through the past year and some of the good things and the bad things that have happened. So now I know some people who've done Misfits Market in different parts of the country didn't have really good experiences at all. But all of mine, even the mistakes, even the things that weren't all that great, have all been good. So for example, there's been a couple times where I was sent the wrong item, something other than what I ordered. And all I did was take a picture of the item and just tell them, oh, I received this, that's not what I ordered. I ordered this instead, and they just gave me a refund. They can't ship out that item right away, but you have something you'd have to wait for your next order. But they did refund me immediately, no problem, and no questions asked. Almost everything I get in is in good condition. Every once in a while, like the first batch of mushrooms I ordered, were little on the just about too old side. So I used them up quickly, but I haven't had any issues with the portobello mushrooms I've been buying. They've been in perfect condition. I don't buy lettuces through them. And some people, even though I'll get the cabbage, I don't buy the more delicate fresh lettuces because I know they're going to get beat up. And I've heard some stories about their lettuces not arriving in very great condition because my daughter-in-law gets them too. And she's always had issues with the lettuces. So I personally haven't tried it. But one thing about where we get ours comes out of Portland, Oregon. And so different parts around the state, as this becomes available, they're going to come from different areas. So how yours is wrapped and the condition it shows up in is going to depend on that place that you're getting it from, the shipper and how they handle your food, and the weather and how hot things are. So some things may not, if you're in a hotter climate and you're ordering stuff in the middle of summer, fresh produce, it may not be in the perfect condition when you get it. So you have to consider things, if you're going to do that, things that you know will hold up well. Onions usually do pretty well, potatoes and things like that. And or even your packaged goods like your oils and your pastas, those kind of things shouldn't be a problem. So since they've really expanded what they do now and what they offer, you just have a lot more options there. And here's the great thing is they've sort of changed how things go. You just set yourself up. You have to have a minimum order of $30 when you're just talking about standard produce. And then if you're talking about cold and frozen items like your milk, butter, meat, any of that kind of stuff, you have to have $30 at least of that. But you can add the produce to that. So it doesn't have to be a total of $60, but it has to be $30 total just on the cold and frozen stuff. That all has to do with packaging because there's more money that goes into packaging that stuff up. So whenever I'm ordering cold and frozen items, I try to do a bigger order that particular week. And no, you don't have to order every week. You can just not order anything and you don't get an automatic shipment. That's the way it was initially, but you don't have to order anything. If you don't put anything in your cart, they just won't send you a shipment that week. So that makes it nice. That way, if you forget, don't worry about getting whatever they decide to pick out and ship to you. But yes, the cold and frozen stuff, they send it in an insulated bag with a couple of really big ice packs, where when they send the produce, it's usually looser in the box and it might have a couple ice packs in there, but it's not. They're usually smaller. It's well insulated, but it doesn't have the big fancy insulated bag that it comes in, which is a Mylar bag with a layer of insulation and then plastic on the inside. And I've never had any issues with anything. Even one day when we were out of town for the day, and it was actually a pretty warm day, and the sun shines directly on our front deck, and it sat on our front deck in the sun for hours before we were able to get home and bring it inside. And everything was still in great shape, no issue, very, very well packed. So I'm very pleased with the way they've been packing our stuff. The downside to that, though, is when you're ordering all that kind of stuff where you're getting all that extra packaging, is figuring out what to do with everything. Now, a lot of the packaging we've been able to turn around and reuse it, including the box. We cut the box up, we'll use that to wrap our chambers in. We'll use some of the foam insulation that they use to wrap things in. And then the Mylar bags, I am now starting to utilize for other things. It also has the insulation layer on the inside that you can pull out and use for insulating anything. In fact, we started using some of that we've got in past Misfits Market boxes that we've saved up. And we just recently used it to close in the soffits on our greenhouse since it's been so cold this spring. And my tomatoes and peppers have kind of been suffering. So Patrick took a lot. I had quite a bit of that saved up, more than enough for him to go pack a bunch of that in there to add better insulation and keep it warmer in the greenhouse right now. So there's lots of things you can use that stuff for. And then the ice packs, I save as many as I can and put them in the freezer to fill up all the open spaces. And that way too, if we lose power and we don't feel like turning on the generator or we don't have enough solar power to keep everything running, I have all these great ice packs keeping things cold. But the bad thing is you can get so many of those that you don't know what to do with them anymore. And so then it's a matter of having to dispose of them. That's the only thing that I don't like, is some of the packaging is having to dispose of it. But with most of it, I've been finding ways to be able to reuse a lot of it so it's not going into the landfill. And in fact, the Mylar, the last bag, insulated bag, I took the insulation out before I thought of it. So the next one I get, I'm going to use this whole thing. But I took the bag, the Mylar part of the bag, and put it inside the greenhouse around my tomatoes to help reflect the light back in on them for the darker days. And then around the back of that, I enclose that in a black plastic so it can help warm things up. But if I had kept that bag and tacked and not pulled the insulation out of it, I would have actually just hung that whole bag up like that, just opened it up and then spread it out around there. So I'm definitely going to be keeping the next few bags for the purpose of insulating my different plants, especially as the weather keeps getting colder. So it can be a downfall in the fact that you can end up with a lot more waste when you're having stuff delivered than if you're going down to the store and buying it. On the other hand, if you can find creative ways to reuse that stuff, you can really eliminate or lower the amount of waste of the things that you're having to toss. And I brought out these, like this is, I showed you the honey and the almond oil. Here's a bottle of almond oil and a jar of honey. I just kept them wrapped the way they were and put them away in storage like this. So that way it keeps them dark and it keeps them just better preserved. And that way I just don't bother unwrapping it until I need it. And, you know, it's just wrapped really good. I've been very, very happy with it. So here's how Misfits Market works, by the way. A lot of it is excess stuff. It's not necessarily mean it's bad stuff. It's just excess stuff. It sort of eliminates the middleman there. So you're getting it more directly from the farms, and then it comes to you rather than going through the store and then the store taking the stuff and going, okay, we have too much and shipping it to you. No, it's not like that. And some of the stuff too, the reason it's called Misfits is it might be things that I don't have anything here that looks odd, but sometimes you'll get some really odd looking shapes to some of your fruits and vegetables. Some of them are on the smaller side, but if they're smaller, they'll give you more. Like sometimes I've ordered the red onions like this and then had them just be, instead of maybe a couple of bigger red onions like this, I'll end up with a bunch of smaller ones. My experience overall has been, I would say, superb. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always, you know, it's just life. It's the way it happens. Sometimes we send people the wrong item and we have to fix things on our own store. That happens because we're human. And so you have to understand that's just life. As long as they make it right, that's what matters. And they have always made it right in the few mistakes that have happened in the past year. And there's only been a few. I'll be putting a referral link in the description box down below. And the great thing about the referral link is when you go through that, we both get something from it. So you get $10 off your order, or maybe 15. I know it's at least $10 off your order, and then I get $10 for you signing up and placing an order. And then what happens, you don't have to pay to sign up like you do with Thrive Market, though you won't be able to see everything that's available in the store because it changes so often. So you won't be able to see it until your order window comes up, and it's going to be different for each person in each state and each part of the state that you're in. My order window opens up on Friday, our area, at 1 p.m. and once that window's open up, it stays open until Sunday evening. So we have a few days there where we can look through and pick items, change our mind, and add something, take something out of the cart. But the thing is as soon as your window opens, I recommend you get in there and look and see what they have, because it's going to depend on the availability and how many of the things. And sometimes, as I said with the honey, they would only allow you to order one at a time. Same thing goes with the Organic Valley milk. You can only order 2 quarts at a time. Some things I think is pretty much unlimited, but I don't know. I have no idea. Usually I don't order more than 4 of one thing at a time. Typically it's just 1 or 2 of the different things. And then I recommend, if you were looking for something specific, go back the next day and look. Sometimes things can come available. I think part of that is if people change their mind and decide to take something out of their cart, then suddenly this item might be available and then you can then snag it. And you can just keep doing that for the next couple of days until the window closes. And then once the window closes, then your order is going to go through that very next day. And then they ship it the day after that. Now for here, the shipment usually goes out on Tuesdays and then we get it 2 days later. And again, no hassle there. And again, if you decide you don't want to order it all that week, just don't put anything in your cart. And even if you put a couple items in your cart, you won't get that shipment unless you have at least $30 of produce and pantry type goods, or at least $30 of your cold and frozen, plus whatever other pantry goods you want to add on top of that. It's actually pretty easy to work with, and you don't have to worry about forgetting about it unless you're really wanting to get that order in and then you forget to put the order in. That's the only thing you'd have to worry about, because again, you only have the certain window of time to do your order, and that's when you're able to see what's available for you in your area. And that's always going to change. It's going to change from week to week. It's going to change from place to place as to what is available. There is a flat rate shipping fee that you do pay, and it doesn't matter how much stuff you order, that flat rate is still the same. I think it just recently went up to $8, and it was $5 or $6, and now I think it went up to $8, which is understandable. Everything's costing more. Fuel is costing a lot more. Shipping costs are going up. That's just the way it is. So I totally got it. I didn't have a problem paying the extra, and that saves me a lot of time too, plus the money that I'm saving, because you get pretty good discounts on buying these organic foods through there than you would if you were to go down to your local store, typically, unless you have a really good store that offers pretty good prices close to you and you're not as remote as we are. Maybe you live in a bigger town where you can go to a Winco or whatever that they have, and we just don't have things like that here. It's just a flat rate, and it doesn't matter how much you order. You could put it in a huge order and it's still going to be that flat rate of $8, which I think is pretty reasonable, especially as someone who's constantly having to ship things out, and I know what it costs. If I was to ship a box that size, I know it would cost me to ship from here across the country a minimum, a very minimum of probably $45. To ship something that size, this like the size boxes I typically get, especially when I'm ordering the cold and frozen stuff as well, which I don't do every week. I'm getting myself to where now I'll just do the cold and frozen every other week, and then just produce and pantry goods on the weeks in between. But I do an order every week for sure, so that way I can always keep fresh produce coming in, especially my peppers, because I got to have these as long as they're available there. I'm going to keep getting them, and my citrus. Absolutely love that stuff. And then remember, if you decide to try it out and you get an order in and it's not what you hoped for, and then maybe you decide to order again, I would say just start with a very minimum order and see what you think about it. And if you're not happy with it, you can cancel your membership at any time. And even if you don't cancel the membership, you're not going to keep getting charged for something that you're not using. It's just, it doesn't work that way. You're not paying any kind of monthly fee. It's just a matter of signing up and then deciding whether or not you want to order or not for that week. And you can just decide to do an order once a month or once every other month. I love the way it's morphed, at least for our area. It might be different in different areas around the country, and I know this is the US, by the way, but I know for us, it's just the way they've changed things and made things a little better. It just keeps getting better. Now, what I would also like you to do, since some people I know in certain parts of the country have just not been real happy with Misfits, have been very disappointed. It didn't work for them, maybe because of the parts of the country they're from. But some people have found other similar type places where they can order organic produce that have been good for them. So I think a lot of it, again, depends on who's packing and where it's coming from. And that might be a better option. So please share with us down below. What are some other options that you have used that you have been happy with? So those who've tried Misfits Market and they're like, I haven't been happy with it, or just want to know what other options there are out there, please share those in comments down below. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed my update video. And if you have any questions, I'm sure I've left some stuff out that I forgot to say, then please ask them down below and I'll try to answer those right away. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care. And God bless.